Thank you for inviting me here. I've only been, actually this trip to India was quite a surprise, and it really feels like Gurudev's mercy. Only arranged a month before we came. We didn't realise we were staying for 5 months until the last day we left. So, and when we got here, Jagannath asked me if I'd like to do this course. So I've been preparing very hard the last couple of months. So bear with me if there's some mistakes. I'm not a scholar. I've been studying Jagannath and also Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj's biography. There's a summary of Das Mula in there, and in this course I'm going to be doing an overview of the entire Das Mula. There is a lot to cover, and I'm not going to be able to cover it all, but I hope to give you an overview of the main points of each section, and hoping that you get the inspiration yourself to go and study Jaiva Dharma. And if you want a less in-depth insight into Jaiva Dharma, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj's biography, written by our Gurudev, has got a briefer summary of all the main points in a section in there. So first of all, I'd like to offer my unlimited Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitilila Pravista Om Vishnupad, Astotar Zatashishmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, and unto the lotus feet of all of our Guru Parampara, praying for their mercy that we can imbibe these teachings of Das Mula and find some inspiration in our lives. And I also offer pranams to all of you, my godbrothers, godsisters, so many seniors here, asking for your blessings that we can go through this in a nice way. So, first of all, I'm going to just start off by going through a brief overview of the whole Das Mula, very briefly. And then today we're going to focus mainly on the first and second principles. Now the Das Mula, Das is 10, and Mula means roots, and Tattva means truth or principles. There's many meanings, obviously, for Tattva. Different Sanskrit words have so many different meanings, but in this sense. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has compiled the Das Mula in his great work, Jaiva Dharma. So in there he describes that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as we know that Jaiva Dharma is told in a story format, so it's very easy to read, but to open with that is very detailed philosophy. Srila Gurudev said that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has put the ocean in a jar. So that all our philosophy, all the Vedic literatures, the essence of all of them is in Jaiva Dharma. And so the story that comes just as this is, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but Jagannath has been on a journey to find the teachings, to find Mahaprabhu. And he was into Nyaya Shastra, and he was a great logician, the most famous scholar. And it was just after the time of Mahaprabhu, and he somehow or other find out about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he used to be a scholar in Nyaya, in logic. He gave it up and took up the path of bhakti, and gradually his kriti increased, and his affection for Gauranga increased, and then he was somehow or other he was led by the grace of the Lord to the near the yoga pit in Mayapur, where Raghunath Das Babaji was residing, and he was able to quench his thirst for the glories of Lord Chaitanya and Bhakti through Raghunath Das Babaji. So it's described that Raghunath Das Babaji is a disciple of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and he spent time with him in Radhakund in Vrindavan, and along with Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj. So that's how it leads into, this is in the middle section of Jaiva Dharma, that's how it leads in, and First of all, Jagannath is inquiring about the sadhya and the sadhana, the goal, what is the goal of life, and what is the process to attain it. And Jagannath Das Babaji proceeds to explain the Das Mula. And he explains that these are the 10 essential teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never wrote anything himself. By his instruction, his followers wrote so many books. The 6 Goswamis and so forth, they wrote so many books. He himself compiled the Shikshastaka, which is 8 very beautiful slokas that describe all the essence of the Vedanta, the Vedic literatures, all the philosophy in those. So Das Mula is actually based on the Shikshastaka, the teachings in the Shikshastaka, described in Jagadama. So as we know, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is known as the 7th Goswami. All of the 6 Goswamis, they were instructed to do a very big task. They brought Mahaprabhu's teachings into book form. They revealed the holy Dham and all of the holy places of Vrindavan. Without them, we wouldn't be able to go on Brajamandal Parikrama. We were able to go there to touch the dust of those places in the modern era by the grace of the 6 Goswamis. And so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur appeared in the 1800s, and he is known as the 7th Goswami because he established Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings in the modern era. He revealed Gaura Dham, Navadvip Dham, and the Yoga Pit, exactly. The birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was revealed to him, and he compiled the whole Navadvip Parikrama, especially Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, which was Jiva Goswami, Nityananda Prabhu taking Jiva Goswami around Navadvip. So it's by his grace that we can do Navadvip Parikrama as well. And his son and disciple, Srila Saraswati Thakur, got that into motion, and then his disciples, especially Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, our Gurudev, following in that line. That's just a little bit of background of how this starts. I'm not going to be talking the whole time, by the way. I'm going to be, this course, because I'm a teacher by profession, and you're going to have to bear with me. I might treat you like children sometimes. I'll try not to. I'm going to have some lollies for people who learn shlokas, and some Jagannath Prasad as well, so it's not just one group. And we're going to be doing different activities. I'll be getting people to stand up and move around and talk to each other. Oh my God. So you're not just going to listen to me, you're going to listen to each other. I'm going to get some of you to teach each other some things, to learn and teach each other some things through the course. And I think I want to make it fun, but also great, because this topic is very, very deep, and it relates to every one of us. It is the knowledge of reality. We're absorbed in the knowledge of illusion all the time. 24 hours a day, speaking for myself anyway. And this knowledge is the knowledge of reality. And it is actually all the courses that you're going to hear, you'll find within this. Because this has everything in it. We're just hearing topics of Archan. That's one little part of the Das Mula. Kirtan is the same. So the Das Mula contains everything in it. And it is quite philosophical as well, but it's so essential. We're discussing, my husband and I. By the way, this is my husband over here, Vrindavan. He's been great support for me. He's going to help me a little bit. We're just discussing how it's so important to study Tattva and Siddhanta, and we're encouraged by our Gurudev, by our Acharyas, to study Tattva and Siddhanta. And it's not just a theoretical thing. Real knowledge comes by surrender and service, or sharanagati. It's not the word surrender, sharanagati. And service, seva to our Gurudev. And by His mercy, all of these teachings will manifest in our heart. There's that famous verse, Yasya Devi Parabhakti, Tata Devi Tata Guru, Tasya Te Katakarta, Akashate, Mahatmana, that by having the same devotional service mood to our Gurudev after we do Shri Krishna, then all Tattva and Siddhanta will manifest, all truths of reality will manifest in our heart automatically. But He tells us study, and we gain that knowledge, and then by His mercy, actually it's following His instruction, it pleases Him to study, then gradually that knowledge will become realized, not just gyan, but vigyan, or realized knowledge. So, anyhow, we'll get started. So there's 11 very big Dasmula slokas. We're going to focus on one, and we're also going to focus on some smaller ones that support each of them, because they're all very, very long. And if anyone would like to delve into them, I can send, or you're looking at Jaivatama for them. The first one, this is an invocation of Dasmula. It contains all of the Dasmula within that sloka. We're going to focus on a little bit every day. Let's just say it all together. Amnaya Brahma Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam Sarva Shaktim Rasatyam Tadvinam Samschatvam Prakriti Kavalitam Tadvimuktamscha Bhavat Vera Vera Prakasham Sakalam Api Hare Saranam Shuddha Bhaktim Satyam Tatvitim Eveti Ubadishati Janam Gaura Chandra Swayam Saha. Anybody know that shlok? Hands up. Anyone know half of it? Or less? By the end of these 6 days, you're going to know the whole thing. I hope. If you try, it's actually going to be pretty easy. Positive attitude. Okay, so the first one is, I'm just going to read through this, because then we're going to go in detail, and otherwise we'll spend too much time going over the whole thing. The first principle is Praman, the self-realized teachings, the self-revealed teachings of the Vedas received through Guru Parampara are known as Amnaya. So each part of the Dasmula is divided into the 3 different sections of Sambandha Tattva, Abhideya Tattva, and Prayojan Tattva. And Sambandha Tattva is knowledge of relationship. Does anyone know more clearly what that is in like one sentence or 2? Rajanath, Peru? What is one sentence?
Sambandha Tattva means our loving relationship with Sri Krishna. How to enter that Tattva, that conclusion, that beautiful knowledge, that is Sambandha Tattva. I can tell a few more sentences, but she only asked me for one sentence and I already went over my capacity. Right. Sambandha Tattva means we must understand who we are, who is Krishna, what are Krishna's energies, and what is our relationship with Krishna's energies and with Krishna. And it culminates in our natural, spontaneous, loving, transcendental, unique, individual relationship with Krishna. That is the conclusion of all Sambandha Tattva. But we must start where we are. At the moment we have completely forgotten our transcendental loving relationship with Krishna. Now we are, by default, thinking that we are this body and we are this mind, because we are always identifying with that which is temporary, illusory existence. That is called the material world, material creation. We have a relationship with Krishna which is transcendental, And by taking shelter of Krishna's transcendental energy, Parashakti, or that is called internal energy, Yogamaya, we will gradually realize our transcendental identity, meaning, relationship with Krishna. The more we progress on this path and the more we become firmly established in Sambandha Tattva, the more we will automatically realize our loving relationship with Krishna. So we are supposed to daily remember and sink deeper and deeper into Sambandha Tattva. It is the fundament, the basis, the platform of all Ananda, all transcendental happiness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jagannath. Very nicely said. So, the next, so Praman itself, the evidence of the Vedic literatures is the evidence. It establishes the following truths, starting with Sambandha Tattva. That Parama Tattva, Shri Hari alone, is the supreme absolute truth. Sarva Shaktim, Shri Krishna is the possessor of all potency. Akila Rasamrita Sindhu, he is the ocean of nectarian mellows. So all of these three are Krishna Tattva. And now we have Jiva Tattva. Vivinangsa Tattva, both the Mukta, liberated, and Bada, conditioned Jivas, are his eternally separated parts and parcels. Bada Jivas, conditioned souls, are subject to the control and covering of Maya. Mukta Jivas, liberated souls, are free from Maya. And then Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, the entire universe, both material and spiritual, is his manifestation, which is inconceivably both different and non-different from him. So that encompasses Sambandha Tattva. And now we move to Abhideya Tattva, which is the process of how to attain our goal. Who can tell me the process in one word? Two? Hands up. Shuddha Bhakti, well done. Pure devotional service, sorry. I'll give you a sticker next time. Just kidding. Pure devotional service is the only practice, sadhana, to attain perfection. And then Prayojan Tattva, who can tell me the goal of our life? Is our goal Krishna?
No. Krishna Prema.
Okay, hands up.
Krishna Prema.
Krishna Prem, thank you. Or Krishna Priti, which is another word for Prem. Transcendental love and affection for Krishna is the one and only final object of attainment, Satya Vastu. Okay. Now before we move on, just to get everyone up and moving, there's something that we need to do as a way of organising our sessions. I've got what's called an appointment clock. Actually, I'll put it up on the screen. And this will only take 5 minutes. I hope maybe 10. But it's important because it's something that I want to use every day. To every session. So please remember. That's why you've got a little plastic sleeve. But if you don't have one, please bring it to every session, because you may not need it every session, but like a lot of them you will. And if you don't have it filled in, don't worry, it will still work. Okay, so we're going to move to start diving into the first Dasa principle, which is known as Praman. I haven't got much text written in this presentation except for each principle, because this is a direct sloka, the translation of the direct sloka of each Dasamula, because each principle has one big sloka and all the teachings are hidden within that sloka. And as we know, Sanskrit is multi-dimensional, and the more you go deep and deep and deep, it's like an ocean. So that's why they're the root of all, the Dasamula, the root. So we're covering the roots. We're not going to cover everything in too much detail. We're going to go over briefly. But this is the first Dasamula sloka. The self I just haven't used the computer for a while. Okay, the self-evident Vedas, which have been received in the Sampradaya through the Guru Parampara by recipients of Sri Hari's mercy, such as Brahmaji and others, are known as Amnaya Vakya. The 9 Prameya Tattvas are established by these Amnaya Vakyas with the help of other pramans that follow the guidance of these Shastras, such as evidence obtained by direct perception, pratyaksha. Reasoning that is only based on logic is always lame in the matter of evaluating inconceivable subject matters, since logic and argument have no access in the realm of the inconceivable. So the Das Mula, the first sloka of Das Mula is all about the authority of the Vedic literatures. All kinds of philosophies have what's called an epistemology, or a treatise to describe why we believe what we believe. It's not sentimentality, it's sentimentality. We don't just say, oh, we believe it because we believe it. It's true. But why do we believe it? What is the evidence? When we're at university, you always have to quote, what evidence have you got for this from that? What evidence? All of our acharyas are always quoting the evidence of Shastra. Why is the Shastra the evidence? That is what this is all about. Why we believe in the Shastra. So what is reliable knowledge? Knowledge that will be true yesterday, tomorrow, in the future, forever. Never untrue. It is eternal knowledge. It can't be defeated. In this world, So in this world, when anyone tries to come to any kind of philosophical conclusion, it is always limited by our senses. Our senses are imperfect. It is limited by our perception. Our perception of reality is different. Every one of us is in our own world. So when we try to conceive of transcendental subject matter, it's actually quite impossible. Just for an example, you've probably seen this picture. Hands up if you see a young girl in the picture. Hands up if you see an old woman in the picture.
Also.
Hands up if you see both. Okay, so this is an example of our perception is different. Is anyone confused and doesn't see anything? The young girl's looking away. She's got a feather in like a hat, and her head's pointing. The back of her head's pointing this way. The old lady, her nose is the young lady's chin. And the mouth is down there.
Does she have a mustache?
That's just her nose. So our perception is faulty. It's not perfect. Everybody has a different perception. Hands up if you see a glass or a goblet. Hands up if you see two faces looking at each other. Or both. So there's another example. The black is of two faces. So there's two noses, mouths, there's the foreheads.
Another one. It's fun.
So all human beings have 4 defects. The first one is Brahm, or the tendency to be illusioned.
That one's on. It is on now.
I just want to turn it off. Yep. So the tendency to be illusioned. We're all illusioned in some way at different times. We may see a mirage. Mirage and think it's water in the distance. I remember when I was younger, we lived on a horse farm. I ran over a rope thinking it was a snake, and I bolted for my life. Every time we're always in our perception of reality, we're subject to illusion. And then the next one is pramada, or a tendency to make mistakes. So many times we're making mistakes. That is the same as to err is human. So we have the tendency to make mistakes. The next one, vipralipsa, the cheating propensity. So many, due to envy of others and different bad qualities, we have a cheating propensity. We like to cheat others, we like to lie, to hide what's inside. We don't want to show others. If we have knowledge, we might have power over others, we might not want to share it with others. And then the other one is karanapatava, or imperfect, ineffective mind and senses. We try and concentrate our mind on something for too long, we can't concentrate too long. We've all got an attention span. We can't concentrate all the time, 24 hours a day on one thing. It's impossible. Even if, we might be absorbed in something and then a big band goes past and we don't even realise it's happened. So our senses are imperfect. Our ears can only hear a certain amount of decibels. We can't even hear the sounds dogs can hear. So our smell, we can only have a limited sense of smell. Our eyes can only see a certain amount of things in the colour spectrum. So all of our senses are imperfect. So when we try to perceive reality, it's not perfect. It's completely imperfect. So I just want to show you this funny cartoon of the elephant. There was
Chairs in the way.
6 blind men. There were 6 blind men, and they were trying to perceive what is an elephant. And every one of them had a different idea. One says an elephant's like a spear because he touched the tusks, or a snake because he's touching the trunk, or an elephant's like a curtain because he's touching the ears, or an elephant's like a wall because he's very big, or a tree like his legs, or it's like a rope, his tail. So in the realm of anything that's beyond the senses, even our perception of reality in this material world is faulty. What to speak of coming to conclusions of that which is beyond the senses, beyond our perception. And that is spiritual knowledge of the absolute truth. What is the eternal reality? What is the eternal truth of who we are? Why are we here? Why is everything running? What is the ultimate goal? Everyone has so many different ideas of this, either in the realm of sense gratification, sense enjoyment, or liberation. So many different ideas of what we should be doing with our day-to-day life, or advice on how people should do things, all based on our faulty perception of reality in this world. What we see is kind of like, we don't even know what's happening in the next room, what to speak of the absolute truth. We don't know what's happening on the other side of the world, or we do these over Facebook and internet, but we can't perceive the whole reality. It's kind of like if you had a book and you crossed out all the pages, and you had one page and then you crossed out all the sentences, you only just saw one word on that page. That's really what we see. We don't see the whole perspective. So when we're trying to perceive the spiritual reality, we're a bit like the frog in the well. A frog came and trying to explain what the outside world was like, and we know the story. He was saying, "Oh, how big is it? Is it big as this well?" "No, it's a lot bigger." And he's saying, "It's as big as me," and he kept puffing himself up, puffing himself up. And he could not perceive of what it was like out in the outside world. Did he pop in the end? Yeah. He exploded. So, the Vedas. Now we're looking at what is reliable knowledge. What is true at all times, is completely reliable, is not going to let us down. It's not coming from anybody's imperfect perception of reality, any human being's perception of the reality. So when the great sages like Lord Brahma at the beginning of creation and Veda Vyas and so forth, when they had come to such a platform in their spiritual life that completely rising above the modes of material nature through their devotion to Krishna, through their dedicated 100%, 24 hours, mind, body, words, dedication to Shuddha Bhakti, as we were describing so many times, to Sri Krishna, and coming into the stage of Samadhi, where the mind and heart are completely situated in Sat. We're situated in Asat, the temporary, this temporary world, but situated in Sat, the transcendental reality. And Sri Krishna, Sri Bhagavan Sri Krishna, then manifests himself into their heart and manifests all the truths into their heart, and that is the Veda. It is coming from Krishna himself, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who created everything, who created this world. This is known as Shabda Brahma, or transcendental sound vibration. That is what these Vedas are. So they're self-evident. They're not created by any mundane person in this world. And secondly, they're revealed through Guru Parampara. And that is very important, because this knowledge is carried forth from the very beginning of time through this Guru Parampara, and that's how it is able to come through in a spotless manner, this knowledge. And whenever that Guru Parampara is broken, then Krishna himself, or he sends the Acharya to come and re-establish this transcendental knowledge in the world. So from Guru to disciple, pure Guru to pure disciple. So when the pure Guru, his transcendental, the sound coming from his lips, when he says Sri Krishna is the absolute truth, he is fully realizing all aspects of that. It's not just a sentence, a theoretical sentence. He's fully realizing in his heart that Sri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. And when he tells that to a disciple who is also on that level, who is completely pure, no trace of the three modes of nature in their mind and heart, completely above the imperfections of this world, then he receives that, yes, Sri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, and realizes that fully. So then that's the same message of all the teachings of the Vedas are passed down in this way, Guru to disciple. Sri Ramaji was the first, he heard it from Krishna, he's the first human being, being, not human being, the first created being, and he created by Krishna's power the whole universe. And he spoke this knowledge to Sri Narada, who was his son. Narada spoke it to Vyas. Vyas spoke it to Madhvacharya, and then so on and so on. And then there's an unbroken line coming so that these ancient teachings can be with us today. And by connecting, that's why it's so important to connect with Sadguru, pure spiritual master, who is situated in that transcendental reality, who has no material attachments or desires, completely realized in all these Vedic conclusions and his relationship with Krishna. And he's connected to that Guru Parampara, and he can then start implanting this knowledge in our heart. And through that process of Sharanagati, surrendering onto his lotus feet, engaging in the process of bhakti and serving him, then he will impart all this same knowledge into our heart. Because it's actually within all of us. It's dormant, but it's deep within all of us. All these transcendental truths, they just need to be brought out, manifested in our heart as well. So there's the Vedas, the self-evident Vedas, but revealed in Guru Parampara. That's very important. Otherwise, it can be subject to distortion. People can add chapters. People can use the Vedas according to their own purpose, their own self-interest. So it must be received in Guru Parampara. And the third point is the importance of Sampradaya. So there's 4 Sampradayas in Kali Yuga. And in the Shastra, is it just in Kali Yuga or is it in all time? The Sampradayas?
Well, it started way before Kali Yuga.
Yeah, so it's not just Kali, it's all time.
Within this universe.
Yeah, within this universe, there's 4 Sampradayas. And it says in the Shastra, and Jagannath quotes this verse, that one must receive Diksha, initiation, in one of these Sampradayas, and if you don't receive a mantra within one of these Sampradayas, your mantra will be fruitless. So it's very important to accept mantra by pure Sadguru in one of these 4 sampradayas, and each one leads to a different goal, realm in Vaikuntha. And of course, by the arrangement of the Lord, according to our inner nature, we'll be drawn to particular sampradaya. And by the power of the gurus in that sampradaya, we'll be able to attain the goal of Krishna Prem. So just briefly, there's a picture of the 4 acharyas who preached in these different sampradayas. And the first one, which is our sampradaya, Sri Madhvacharya, and he is in the Brahma sampradaya, or originated in Brahma sampradaya. Then we have Ramanujacharya, who is in the Shri sampradaya, Lakshmi sampradaya. Sri Nimbaditya, who's in the Chatursan sampradaya, that's the 4 Kumaras, originating from the 4 Kumaras. And then Sri Vishnu Swami, who's in the Rudra sampradaya, Lord Shiva.
4 goals.
That's a good question that I haven't actually discovered myself. I know that there's, like, Sri Sampradaya is worshipping Lakshmi Narayan. I'm not sure which one the others are. Does anybody else? Madhvacharya is worshipping Krishna in Vrindavan.
One Damodara. Child of Krishna.
Gopal, and there's also Ram and Sita. Anyhow, that's a discussion. Maybe that can be homework. We can find out who the objects of exactly. Sure. Krishna, I can look it up on its Google. Okay. So as we were saying, we're in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Lord Chaitanya chose to appear and to take the teachings of Madhvacharya and be in this sampradaya because he was the most established in the eternal spiritual form of Sri Krishna in Vrindavan. And of course Brahma, he was initiated in the very beginning, before he created. Krishna himself spoke the from his flute, Gopal mantra, Kama Gayatri mantra, and so Sri Krishna himself instructed him. So actually our sampradaya is coming from Sri Krishna, Brajendra Nandan Krishna, and from Brahma, bringing transcendental knowledge from ancient times to the present day. So there's Lord Brahma, Madhvacharya, our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then our Guru Varga. So just in summary, the points we've discussed today. We've talked about reliable knowledge. What knowledge is reliable? That's beyond the imperfections of our senses, the 4 defects of human beings. We've talked about the self-evident Vedas, how they manifest in the great sages' hearts, and who are completely above the 3 modes of material nature, completely situated in samadhi, and no imperfections. These 4 defects don't apply to them. They're fully perfected souls. And what they realize, they've written down. That's the Vedas. Like, Jagannath is also a Vedic literature because coming manifest in the heart of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All of the books of our Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, they're manifest in their heart. They're writing it down. That is Veda because it is also in their line. Any books that are in that same line are also considered as Veda. And of course we know it's only 5,000 years since it's been written down, before it was passed down verbally by oral reception. So the importance of Guru Parampara, Sampradaya. And we didn't discuss this so much, but other pramans, this is in the original sloka, other evidences, praman means evidence, that follow the guidance of Shastra may be accepted. So if there's anything that we perceive through our senses, or an analogy that we make, a comparison, those kinds of things, different logic, then if they're in line with the Vedas, then they're okay. But if they're not, then they're subject to that imperfection. Are we allowed to have an activity, or are we have to finish? We allowed to have another 15 minutes, or do we?
Yeah.
Yeah?
You started late. So.
It's 6:15. seats.
Oh yeah, we have
Oh, 15 minutes, okay. So, hands up if you don't have a notebook. Okay, so most people have notebooks, or something to write on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want you to spend 1 minute or 2 minutes, I'm going to click this off, have a look really quick. I'm going to click it off. And I just want you to write in your own words, just in a minute or two, what is the essence of this first Das Mula sloka? The first principle of Das Mula, which is the Vedas, about the Vedas, not the first sloka. That's the whole thing, just about the Vedas. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, 1 minute, no talking. Oh, it's off my computer, but not off the big screen. Oh, stand in front of it.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I read it.
And if you don't have paper, then you can think about it. Vedic literatures proclaim Naya Praha. Everybody? Naya Praha.
Vedic literature.
That's right. So thank you, and we'll finish today.